Okay, this is a reaction video. This is Feely from Germany, and the dumbest questions I've been asked by Americans. Now, apparently, this is part five. I haven't seen one through four yet, so maybe I'll go back and do those. But let's see what these are. The dumbest questions I've been asked by an American.
You know when people say that there are no dumb questions? I actually
There are dumb questions, but I have a feeling you're going to give us a few of them.
say that myself a lot. Well, turns out sometimes there are.
Of course, she lives to the south of me. She lives down in Cincinnati.
Hallo, Servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. So for the fifth and last video of my Ask a German mini-series, I'm gonna answer this question that a lot of you guys also voted for in the poll. What's the most annoying question you get asked by Americans?
Well, I don't know what the most annoying question you would be asked by an American, what that would possibly be, but I am curious.
Reminded me of this TikTok trend from a couple months ago where people from all over the world
Yeah, I did videos reaction to that. What's the dumbest thing an American has said to you?
talked about the dumbest question an American had asked them.
There's maybe like 10 of us all trying to explain to this American couple why they probably don't have fireworks for the 4th of July.
Yeah, they're in Morocco. I remember seeing this guy. Yeah, he was talking about the Americans. They couldn't understand why on the 4th of July in Marrakesh, Morocco, there weren't any fireworks to celebrate the Independence Day of the United States.
In Marrakesh, Morocco.
And I said I've never really been more than a city kid. Like I've always been either near or in a city. And she asked me, "Weren't you born in Peru?" And I was like, "Yes." She goes, "Wait, I don't understand. Like, how are you in a city in Peru?"
Yeah, these are some of the questions that were asked.
Then he said, "Oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you, it's not pronounced Algeria, it's pronounced Argentina."
Yeah, people not realizing that there's a country called Algeria, just like there's a country called Argentina. Yeah.
I had to explain to him that I came from an actual country called Algeria.
So I decided that I'll be sharing both with you, the most annoying and the dumbest questions I've been asked by Americans. And of course, no offense to anyone who has asked me these things before, as
We're just going to do a video on it and make fun of them that way.
I said in this video, I usually don't think that any questions are stupid, especially when it's about cultural differences and those kinds of things. But that doesn't mean that there aren't moments where I think to myself, wow, seriously? Still, please just take it with a grain of salt. Let's start with the dumbest questions I've been asked by Americans, and the first one is this one. Why do we call Germany Deutschland in German?
Well, because in German it's pronounced Deutschland. That's what in Germany, that's what you would call it if you were a German. Okay, it's look, that's my guess. Okay, I think I'm right on this one. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I've heard it called Deutschland, and that's what the Germans call it.
I had never been asked this question before I came to the US, and I do understand people wondering about why Germany has so many different names in different languages, but I've straight up been asked before, so why do you have a different name for your country? Why don't you just call it Germany? Or why do you call your hometown this weird other name, München, if you could just say Munich? Number 2 on my list is this one. Hi, I'm Felicia. I'm from Germany. Wow, that's so cool. Like, have you lived in Germany before? Yeah, I was born and raised there. I didn't even come to the US until I was 22, after I got my bachelor's degree. So, do you speak German?
Okay, that's born and raised in Germany. Do you think what? Of course she speaks German. Okay, of course she speaks German.
Which language do people think one speaks when they're born and raised in Germany? Sometimes the conversation even goes on a little. Yeah, of course I do. Like, fluently? Yeah, it's my native language. Like, my whole family is German. And guys, I've probably had this conversation 10 to 20 times in the US, so it's not one of those once-in-a-lifetime situations. I actually just had it again this past weekend.
That's actually quite amazing that people would actually ask that question. I mean, I realize she speaks English, and her English is very good, but I can hear an accent of German, and it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that she would be able to speak German if she was born and raised there.
Hey, German girl, so what's it like driving on the wrong side of the road?
Germans drive on the same side of the road as Americans?
What do you mean? You know, since we drive on the right side of the road here, so do we in Germany. Wait,
They think that in England you drive on the left side of the road. I think in Australia and other countries as well. I don't know how many countries drive on the left side of the road, but in the Germany they drive on the right side of the road.
I thought you guys drive on the left side. I really don't know why so many people think that.
I think they think that that's what all European countries do, and that the United States is the only one that drives on the right side of the road. That's the only thing I can think of about that. But look, I didn't need to go to Germany to figure out that they drove on the right side of the road.
Because I'm telling you, even Americans that know a little more about the rest of the world than the average American have asked me this before. But guys, it's mainly the UK and former British colonies that drive on the left side, like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, or countries in Southeast Asia like Thailand. But in Europe, we all drive on the right side, besides the British. Next up, I always find it a dumb question when I tell people that my name is Felicia, or Felicia in German, and they ask why I have an American name if I'm German. I know that's not a super dumb.
It's not a super dumb question, but it's not necessarily. Look, names are, names have different origins, and they don't all originate in the United States of America or even England for that matter. They're just different names. It's not a stupid question. It's just a silly question to ask. Why would you have an American name? Because I doubt very many Americans do a whole lot of research in the origins of their names or where the name came from. But it's still kind of a silly question.
Dumb question, but I always find it a little ignorant. Like, so many names are names that you'll find in all kinds of languages, like Julia, Julia, or Anna, Anna, or Peter, Peter, and Felicia has a Latin origin and shows up in all kinds of languages. That's actually one of the reasons my parents gave me this name, because they thought it might be helpful if the name exists in other languages as well. And well, they were right about that.
Well, again, when my parents named me, they didn't go that deep into it. I think my mother always liked the name Scott. That's my first name, and so that's really where it came from. And my middle name is named after my uncle, who recently passed away. But yeah, look, I've never really, would look at her and say, "Oh, you're German. What do you have an American name?" You just have a name, and that's how I've always looked at it. Your name is your name. It's what your parents gave you. And whether it's originates in the United States or wherever it originates, it's your name.
And to get to the really, really dumb questions, we're going to have to go back in time a little to when I came to the US for the first time at the age of 16 to participate in a high school exchange. Some of the American kids were even younger than 16 at the time, and I think it's okay that they didn't know all that much about other countries, but I was still shocked by some of these questions. I got the classics like if all Germans are Nazis or if Hitler is still alive.
If all Germans are Nazis. Well, look, when I grew up, my first whatever I knew about Germany was it was split in two. It was an East Germany, there was a West Germany, and East Berlin, West Berlin. And I took it upon myself to learn a little bit more. My brother was a World War II fanatic at the time when we were growing up, and I learned a lot about him. I knew Hitler was not alive. I knew about the Holocaust. I knew all those things about who the Nazis were and what they're about. And I've learned a lot more since. But I would never ever ask somebody, is Hitler still alive or are you a Nazi? Okay, those questions are out of bounds as far as I'm concerned, because I'm sure most Germans who know their history are not fans of that part of their history, and rightfully so. But when I was in Germany in 2006, I thought the German people were wonderful people. And I still maintain that to this day, meeting them and talking to a few of them. And again, I would never ask that question of a German.
But also questions like, do you guys have refrigerators in Germany?
Well, do you?
Now let's get to the most annoying questions I get asked by.
Actually, I know you do, because I had a refrigerator in the hotel room when I was there.
By Americans, and the first one is more of a me thing, I think. I don't think that other Germans are annoyed by this, but when people talk about soccer around me, they
call it soccer and it's football. Bundesliga, my Borussia Dortmund team, which is struggling.
Often go, oh no, sorry, you guys call it football, right? So this football player, Lionel Messi, blah, blah, blah. Or when I say soccer, people often go, wait, I thought you guys called it football. And yes, I know that some Europeans are very set on calling it football, but
I've had quite a few of this in some of these German videos about calling it football. Passport 2, don't call it soccer, call it football, and whatever it is, if you're in Rome, do as the Romans, okay? If you're in the United States, you can call it soccer, okay? Because that people will know what you're talking about. But I prefer to call it football because you actually put foot to ball. It makes more sense to call it football. But again, that's me.
I always find this kind of annoying. Like, I'm speaking American English right now. Why would I call it football if that just leads to confusion in this country? I really
Wouldn't be confusing with me.
don't care what it's called. I just want to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about. Plus, no, we don't call it football in Germany, actually.
You call it football.
We call it Fußball.
Yeah.
So I personally really don't care which English word I use for it. In American English, it's called soccer, so that's what I'll say, and that's what I expect Americans to use too.
Look, if we're in Germany, we'll call it football. Okay,
I find it kind of annoying that I always get asked things like, wait, don't you guys drink your beer warm in Germany? No,
you don't.
Kyle, we don't. I've addressed this topic in several videos before, though, if you're interested. Number 3 on the list of annoying questions is when Americans say something like, so how are you dealing with all of our local accents? Like, have you noticed that some people will call it pop instead of soda?
It's not that big of a deal because they have accents in Germany, too.
That must be so confusing to you. What accents are you talking about? Like, yes, regional accents are a thing in the US, but compared to pretty much every other country in the world that has been around for more than 300 years, Americans literally speak the same wherever you go. Like, in Germany, we have over 100 dialects, and our country is smaller than Texas. Sometimes people speak a different dialect in the neighboring village with different pronunciations, different words, and different sentence.
Everybody thinks that in the United States we all speak different, and we do to some extent, different accents and things like that. But that's all over the world, okay? You hear different accents everywhere you go. And not just, English accent, French accent, German accent. I'm talking about in England, there are different accents from individuals. Same in France, same in Germany, same in Italy. Not everybody sounds the same everywhere you go. It's just the way it is. And to sit there and think that something is unique to American and not unique anywhere else is, based on the questions that you're bringing. I don't know. This is not every American, but a lot of people really need to broaden their horizons a bit.
Structures. It's really not that crazy that there are a couple words that people use differently in different parts of the US. Given how big this country is, the amount of different accents and dialects is actually extremely low. And the same thing goes for when people say things like, you gotta know that us Americans...
Well, I don't know that it's very low, but it certainly is regional, and our regions are bigger than what you're talking about in Germany. But it was certainly understandable.
We use a lot of slang. We don't really speak proper English, Oh, thank you for explaining that. Yeah, other languages don't have colloquialisms and slang. And last but not least, this might sound kind of mean. I think a few of these things actually have sounded kind of mean. But I sometimes find it annoying when people ask me about how authentic the German food is at a specific restaurant here.
Yeah, I mean that's like if I took an Australian to an Outback, and there are videos on YouTube where you take like a Mexican and give them Taco Bell or things like that, or Outback Steakhouse in the United States is a chain which supposedly has an Australian feel to it, if you take it for authentic German food, look, food is food, whatever it is. I don't care if it's authentic or not. I'll take their word for it. But I'm certainly not going to ask a German how good our is authentic, because, like I said, I being over in Germany, I had the brats over there. They tasted fine. They didn't taste too much dissimilar from what we had over here. So yeah, I can certainly understand that.
Like, it really depends on what you mean by that, because we don't eat schnitzel and potato salad every single day in Germany, and most of what you find here is traditional Bavarian food and doesn't represent the rest of Germany at all. So the answer is that in most cases, things have been Americanized a little, so that's something that I can at least judge, and it's also pretty easy to judge the pretzels, which aren't German at all at most places in the US, and beer cheese isn't a German thing either, guys, and neither is dipping your pretzels in mustard. But yeah, I personally don't love that question because it's just such a vague question to answer. And the weird
It really is. And if you look, when I was in Germany, one of the biggest place or restaurant that I saw from America over there, I saw McDonald's, I saw Burger King, but there seemed to be Subways all over the place, Subway sandwiches. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't go, when I was in, stayed in Frankfurt, went to Berlin, Kaiserslautern, and Cologne, and there were so many Subway sandwiches in Germany. It was unbelievable. And nobody, thank God, did I talk to anybody who said, "Does this taste like authentic American Subway sandwiches?" I don't. It's a sandwich. Okay, it is what it is. Okay.
weirdest thing is when people ask me about pseudo-German food that is actually from the US, like Geta, which is very popular here in the Cincinnati region, or sauerkraut balls, or the beer cheese dip that I just mentioned. And then people ask me how authentic that is, and I'm just like, well, I've never seen this before I came to the
What you should probably say instead of that is say, it is absolutely the most authentic German. You can't, this is so authentic, it'd make your head spin.
US. So those were all the things that I could think of for these questions. The craziest response on TikTok that I've come across, and several people have shared the same story here, is about Americans being confused when a foreigner explains to them that their family is 7 hours ahead because of the time zones, and apparently the American doesn't really understand time zones, so they ask, so why didn't any...
No, they understand time zones to an extent. They understand, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, or, 8 o'clock, back in the day watching NFL games, following this is this show, except on the West Coast. They understand time zones to that extent. But no, I understand time zones very much. Thank you very much. Not that you're talking about me, mind you, but yeah, a lot of Americans do understand time zones, but there's some that don't.
Anyone warn us about 9/11 then if they're 7 hours ahead? Yeah. People have seriously shared personal stories like that, and there are a lot more of those questions out there that you can check out. This was it with my Ask a German mini-series. If you haven't seen the other 4 videos, just check them out up here, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and activate the bell. This is...
And I'll give you, when I was over in Europe, when I was over in Germany, okay, 3 people, not 4, 3 people asked me this question, okay? When they found out I was from America, they asked me, do you know Tom Cruise? Okay, now, forgetting how big the United States is and how big of a superstar Tom Cruise is, okay, asking me if I know Tom Cruise makes no sense at all, but that was a silly question that was asked of me. But hey, by the third guy, I said, yeah, I know him quite well. He has me out over at his place out in Los Angeles or Florida every now and then for dinner. He picks up the tab everywhere we go. Me and Tom, we're like this. But yeah, that's one of the silliest questions I was asked when I was over in Germany. But that is what it is. Like, I'm not trying to pick on her. This was fun. Feely from Germany. Please click like, share, and subscribe for her. And please click like, share, and subscribe for me. And have a good rest of your day. And thanks for watching.